This conference will now be recorded.
Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to start the Roosevelt Forest meeting at 7:05 p.m. I'd like to call to order. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the last meeting, which was, Aileen?
October 28th.
I'm so looking for a motion.
So moved, Bill O'Brien.
Moved by Bill O'Brien, a second. A second. I think it's Bob Ford was saying second. I see they're both trying to talk. Bob and Ed, I'm not hearing them. Are you?
Can you hear me now, Bob?
I can.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, great. Any discussion? If none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. Great. I don't have the exact, because I don't, my dual screen's not working, Aileen, so I'm gonna have to kind of edge on you a little bit for the agenda as we go through it for the items.
I'm going to take a picture of it and I'm going to send it to you right now.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you want me to broadcast it on the screen?
Even better, Cal, because even though I want to see you and Aileen all the time, I can look at the agenda, so that's perfect. Thank you. Between Teams and Google and Go Meet, I always get confused on which one we got. Thank you so much. All right, so the trail markers, we try to do
God,
it.
I'm really earning my keep here tonight. Oh my goodness.
Can you hear me? Good. The trail markers, I think we'll wait till the spring. What? You good? The trail markers, we're going to look to the spring to redo some markers in certain trails. I know just walking in the forest, there's certain areas that are kind of, we need a marker or two in there. Ed, you have the markers, right?
Yes, I do, Bob.
If you could at one point, just drop off like whatever colors you have, a couple of each, just throw them in my mailbox. Because when I'm walking, maybe one day I'll just nail up a few where there's a couple of clear ones.
I'll do that for you.
Great. And if anybody, Ed, if you or anybody in the commission wants to have a couple, if you know the trails really well and you feel like you want to mark a couple, feel free to do so before the spring. But we've had a couple trees come down with markers on them. So I think we do a pretty good shot with it. And again, we don't want to overmark, but I guess we'll talk to some of that too, Kelly, because we have some other ideas what we want to do, not just marking the trails. So
Very good.
the boardwalk on the Orange Trail, is there any update on that, or who kind of owns that? Anyone?
Bob?
Yeah.
Bob?
David, me? I don't hear
Haley
anybody.
Mark speaking. At the last meeting, you had mentioned that Deep does not like, and you suggested it could be an Eagle Scout project.
Okay. Thank you. Working? Okay.
Fully on the screen.
Okay, so everybody, if you're not speaking, can you mute yourself so we don't have a lot of background noise, please?
Thank you. The dog park, I don't have any updates. I know there's been discussion about the trash cans. I think that's been discussed with Public Works. And I know the dog park commission people and Kelly and her department have kind of worked out some compromise on that. I said it probably at the October meeting, I'll say it again. I don't want to be micromanaging the garbage at the dog park, and with the dog park commission or that group and Kelly works out. So unless someone has discussion, I kind of want to move on. Hearing none, I'll move on to the scout camps. Does anybody have any updates on the live ledge?
There is no update as I know, Bob. I just know that there was a check that was written that's sitting at town hall, and I'm sure it's not good anymore. But Chuck was involved with getting an Eagle Scout. We're going to need to find another person that's interested in doing it.
Those Eagle Scouts age out quickly. We figure that out. I've known that. So, all right, we can move on.
Yes.
The Friends of Roosevelt Forest Facebook page. Bob Ford, any updates?
Just a trickle of new requests for people to join. I let them in. It's nice to see stuff get posted about the forest. People like to put up pictures and the like. The big flurry of activity was back in the spring and early summer when people were really aching to get out. That's come down a bit at this point, but nothing of significance at this. There's like no big difference or any issues.
Excellent. The ultra marathons, and just Aileen, if we could just kind of update these dates. We do have some updated dates for things that were approved by Lou. I think his December one, did it happen or not? I'm not even sure if it happened. I think it got canceled due to COVID, the governor's restrictions. So, unless
So he
Aileen,
did
do you
have
an
it. I'm sorry, this
Okay.
is Aileen Marsh, recording secretary speaking. So Lou Loban could not have the marathon in the forest because of the pandemic restrictions. So instead, he held it virtually. I guess so you run wherever it is you want to run. But he was at the pavilion at the forest to give out the goodie bags, like the T-shirts or hats or whatever that he hands out.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. Yeah, if we could just update the dates on those for the, we did approve dates in 2021. That'd be great. So let's talk about good news too. We're going to go right into park repair. Kelly, I don't want to steal your thunder, but the Beaver Deceiver that was floating in Pumpkin Ground Brook is been removed. So that's a big win. And there was another thing, and I'm not sure if it's still on the agenda, but it was bothersome that our friends at Optimum, that's owned by Altice and now Morgan Stanley, had some, we'll call it disposed coax cable that was laying on Peters Lane for about 2 years. And that has been removed by our Public Works Department. So I'd like to thank Kelly and her efforts to get our the highway department to do both jobs, or parks or highway or both. So thank you.
Yep, it was a combination of parks on the Beaver Deceiver and highway on the coax cable, so a joint effort by all.
Great. It was nice to get that off the agenda, and thank you so much. And I know you guys have limited staff there, so it's been a challenge. I'm sorry, we're back to I'm still on the continuing items. I apologize. The park, oh no, that's still on park repair. There is a tree down, Kel, on the red trail where I want to call it where that radio tower was, where the peak is. There's a guard, there's a rail there. It's kind of right near Peters Lane, but there's a trail, a tree came down probably about right after, probably the November storm, but it is covering the trail there. So it's pretty accessible by PW, to be honest with you, from the road. It's not that big of a hike in.
Okay, I'll enter that in for a recorded. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. If you need to know where it is, you and I could always meet up there real quick. And it's not, but it's probably not even a quarter of a day's work, to be honest with you, just to clear it.
Okay.
Thank you.
We may incorporate that into Razor's Edge has not gotten out there yet. We've been diverting our efforts to doing some grinding from that tropical storm Isaias pile on Main Street. So once they're done with that, we're hoping to hop into Roosevelt. So maybe we'll just incorporate that into that work as well.
Yeah, and just to remind everybody, there are a few dangerous, well, not dangerous, but there's some limbs that need to be kind of removed near some of the trails, and a lot of it has to be tree climbing. You really can't bring a truck in there, so that's specialized work that our PW doesn't have the capabilities or all the equipment to do so. So it's going to be a private contractor going in there that the town contracts with to get rid of some of those what do they call those branches that are very dangerous? I can't. There's a term.
Widowmakers.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
hazards. That and has branches and trees.
And I know you guys did a good job on the dog park as well on that, so thank you. I think there's one tree in there still, maybe, Kel. I know that that looks a little dead, but everything else, you know, we've identified, I think, pretty well on this, you know. So thank you. Any other comments from anyone on this? I know you have on the agenda the smoking ban in the forest. Bill or Kelly can. I can't remember the update on that. I know I was inquiring. I know we have some non-smoking signs when it gets dry there, but what's the overall? I guess. Can you guys hear me or no?
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
Bob, I put up last meeting minutes from October 28th, and it looks
Okay.
like you stated that last time that there were signs put up in the forest to prohibit smoking, but it didn't say anything else. So I'm not quite sure.
You know what? This could be taken off the agenda. We have signs up there at this point. We don't have to kind of revisit this every time. Thank you, Kel.
Yep.
Right. New business. I know we got a couple things going on. Kelly, do you want to start? I know you have some things to share with the group.
Sure, I don't have too much, but I admittedly sent this out a little last minute, but I did show you guys the most recent draft of the updated Roosevelt Forest map, which I'm now scrolling up and down on my screen. This was produced as a collaborative effort between an Eagle Scout, Winston Wu, and MetroCog, but it's still in draft form, and MetroCog was wondering if there were any, maybe a little tiny section on here, do we want to put a few rules, or maybe we don't want to do that? Maybe we keep it simple. So just kind of wanted to throw this at you guys, see if you had any comments. We don't have to decide anything this month. If you want to wait till mull it over tonight or this upcoming month, and then we can talk about it in January. But it also does depict part of Winston's project was he wanted to create these quarter mile markers so that if there's an emergency, you can kind of relay that to emergency personnel. So you can say, hey, I'm on the blue trail between B1 and B2, or just to try and pinpoint your location a little more exactly in case there is an emergency. So Winston ultimately wants to put mile markers up so that you can see where B1 is physically out there. And I think he's still coordinating that effort. Nothing's really set in stone, but this is just kind of the most recent draft of what they're thinking for those mile markers, as well as the trail. So this is pretty cool because all the trails were actually marked with a GPS unit, so they should be pretty spot on compared to what we've had in the past.
Yeah. I have some questions if it's appropriate now.
Yes, absolutely.
Who is MetroCog? I don't know what that is. Can you just explain a little bit?
Sure. So back in the day, Connecticut used to have county government, I guess, not in my
Yeah.
memory lifespan, but other states obviously have counties and they operate on county government systems a little differently. But so in Connecticut, in the past, I don't know, 5 to 10 years or so, they have formed these councils of governments, which are essentially regional planning organizations, and they help towns in regional efforts like with open space acquisition, with grant writing, with GIS, at different types of planning activities like transportation planning and all kinds of fun stuff. So we belong to MetroCog, which stands for Metropolitan Council of Government, and they are headquartered in Bridgeport, I believe, and they serve Stratford, Fairfield, Bridgeport, Trumbull, Monroe, and Easton. I think that's it. So that's kind of their service area. So they help us out a lot making GIS maps, especially for grant applications. They help us out. They help get grants on their own and then administer grant funds to the municipalities. So it's a pretty nice tool that we have. They have a lot of expert certified.
Lost you. Can't hear you.
Yeah, I lost your voice there, Cal.
Sorry about that. I accidentally hit my mouse. Where did I leave off? Did I explain MetroCog to you already?
Yeah, you did. You
Yeah.
just the last 10 seconds, really.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's pretty much it. I was just rambling on.
You were right. So, Kelly, I know MetroCog used to be called something else, and I'm not going to quiz you on it, but I know they renamed themselves a couple years ago.
Yeah, it was GBRC, Greater Bridgeport Regional.
Yeah, thank you.
Something or other.
Now you're showing off, by the way. Thank you.
Another MetroCog.
Okay, I have additional questions.
Sure.
Keep going, Bob.
About
Fire away.
About a year ago, I had talked to Chris Timniak in Town Hall regarding receiving funds from Athletic Brewing Company. Do we know if any of those funds were used for this project? Because that was part of their intent.
None of those funds were used. This was already, so MetroCog, interestingly, was already planning on producing an interactive regional trails app that you can have on your phone for all of its member communities. So the timing kind of worked out perfectly where Winston wanted to do a mapping project as an Eagle Scout, and then MetroCog was already planning on updating all this trail mapping anyway. So they handed over a lot of the field work to Winston, which also helped MetroCog out because they didn't have to expend those resources to do that work. So we actually haven't tapped into any of those funds from Athletic, but we certainly could for actual production of the maps, or if we want to play around with them or elaborate on them in some fashion. But I'll kind of leave that up to you guys what you're thinking. I know we've talked about doing some interpretive guide or something of that nature too. So
Yeah, I'd hate to have that money just kind of get lost in the shuffle. And their intent was to do something that helped to improve navigation and information in the forest. And at some point, we'd like to be able to get back to them and say, hey, this is what's happened so far.
Okay.
Has anybody thought about doing an app that you could go in on into Roosevelt Forest with this?
That's exactly what all of this mapping on the MetroCog side of this is all going to be it's going to be part of a regional app that anyone
Okay, good.
under the public access. But on the flip side, we also, and MetroCog said that they should be able to do this as well. We want to use put QR codes up at the kiosks so that if say the maps ran out or we decide not to go with paper maps, folks could just bring them right up on their phone as well as like more of like a PDF static kind of map.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I've got a bunch of questions, so if you let me run through them. Looking at the map itself, there are no geopolitical boundaries. In other words, there's no town line indicated any place on the map. And that would be helpful. So I just mentioned that as a useful thing that could be added.
Agreed.
For example, if you go up to green 10, G10 at the northernmost portion of the map, there is access to the forest up there. But what I can't tell is whether that access is actually from property that's in Shelton.
Right.
And I just don't know where that line is. So if you go over to Y1, there's access off of North Peters Lane, but I know
Mhm.
that the Shelton line is not very far away from that particular point. So, you know, it's almost like we could have a trailhead up near G10, but of course not if it's not in the town, because our trail seems to terminate there's a contour line before it gets to the little cul-de-sac on Arthur. And I'm just wondering, you know, the trail continues, the trail connects to that road. And you can access the forest from up there.
So that
But
may be an error in our mapping. So I'll bring that up to MetroCog as well.
so here's the other part of that is, what are the forest boundaries?
The age-old question: what are the forest boundaries? We should show that on here so that folks know if they do decide to wander off the trail where that boundary is. And we will do our best to get those correct. I know that there's some question as to whether some parcels are actually part of the forest or not.
Yeah.
I think, Kelly, we have made an aggressive, it's been moving for a couple of years, and it started even before me, was to get property that is contiguous to the forest that's owned by the town of Stratford, incorporate as town forest property. And I know Bruce Jackson, it was actually, I think it was Kevin Kelly's town attorney. Then it went to Tim Bishop and Bruce Jackson under Bishop. But that has been looked at for a while. So it brings up another, I mean, we need that though. We want to make sure all town of Stratford property that borders the Roosevelt Forest is actually deemed part of Roosevelt Forest. I think that's
right. And so by that, are you insinuating that we should make sure that all of these have conservation easements on the deeds? And noting that it's part of Roosevelt Forest? Is that what the effort was or has been?
the short answer is yes.
Okay, because my thought is, I mean, open space is only as good as the deed restriction on it, in my opinion. Otherwise, the town, if some crazy mayor got put into place, he or she could come in and just sell it off without any restrictions. So to make sure these are preserved in perpetuity, I think those easements are pretty huge. I don't see why that'd be a huge lift for the town attorneys to do, because we have a basic form already in place for easements that
Yes.
get filed regularly. So I could talk to Bruce Jackson or any other town attorney
Yeah,
about
I think
that.
you might want to start with Bruce only because I think he was involved in it. That's why I would start with him. I mean,
Okay,
and
I've got 2 more points on the map.
Go on, Bob. Fire away.
One is the gas pipeline is a pretty notable feature running through the forest. And it would be nice to have something indicating that. And it could probably just be done with a highlight or some additional color that takes that section of the orange trail and the green trail from Y3 over to G4 and just indicates that that's part way along there. Because as people are walking through the forest, that's, you know, you are looking for additions that would make it a more navigable and useful map. And I think that would be good. And the final thing that I have is over by Y3, there's an indicated trailhead directly to the west of that. That trailhead, with that location, is the back of somebody's yard. There is no access to the road at that point. There's no way to get to that trailhead aside from hiking to it on a trail.
If that trail does not continue to Beaver Dam Road, is what you're saying?
Yeah, so if you find Y3,
yes, I see that,
which is at the intersection of orange and yellow, and you go directly west, it indicates a trailhead. That trailhead is on top of a big piece of bedrock that sits above somebody's backyard.
There's no trailhead. So is that are you saying that trailhead mark is incorrect and it should be at the roadway, or the orange trail terminates?
there's just no trailhead there. If somebody went there and tried to look it, they'd be wandering around in folks' backyards trying to locate it. So if they
Okay,
went so far as to find the position, we're trying to find it on their app from the
Yep.
road. Let's say they walked out at the trailhead at the end of Blue on Beaver Dam Road and decided they would walk up the road a little bit and then come back in. There is no access there. It's just, that's completely cut off by private property.
Okay, and the orange, and that's so on the other side, where the trailhead marker is west of Y3, that is just the terminus of the orange trail right there.
Yeah, it just
Okay.
ends. I've
Okay.
been up there on a bicycle and you're just staring into somebody's backyard. And
Okay.
so that could just come off.
Yep.
And I'm looking at all these things. I'm familiar with all the trails. It's really nice. This is a really nice map. It's so good to have it like this. And I'll probably spend a little bit of time later looking at the old map and looking at this map to see where the old map was really off.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm so glad to see this done. It really looks, it's a credit to the forest to have something like this, because frankly, it's a very modern, approach to the thing. And in the past, we had, somebody stumbling around the forest and sketching a map as they did it. And so it's really nice to see. So you say it's in draft form. Any idea, at some point, I'd love to put it up on the Roosevelt Forest Facebook page, but I don't want to do it until I get a go ahead.
I would say at minimum, let's make the edits that you have just told us of, and then I don't know if you guys want to wait maybe a month just to see if you guys will have time or want more time to review it to come up with any other edits. I mean, obviously, we want to make sure this is as accurate as possible, and I think now is too soon. I want to fix these trailhead issues first at a minimum.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for the whole commission, but I think we should wait and vet it out a little bit more. Not terribly long, but if we can get this done by, like, at the latest April 1, but hopefully before that, that'd be great.
Okay.
I think that's fair. Make sure we, right, you don't want to put it up before it's ready for prime time.
Right.
Bob, keep going.
I hit all mine. She sent the map out, a little bit before the meeting, and as soon as I saw it, I like maps, and so I just started immediately looking at it and trying to figure out what was there and what were all the symbols and what were we doing, and it's such a nice representation. I'd love to get it out there as quickly as possible, but I don't want to be premature on it. And Kelly, what I'll do is I'll mark it up and send it back to you, so that with anything that I see, I like the idea of adding useful pieces of information, but at the same time, we don't want to have it be too crowded. Always a concern. If you have way too much, then nobody can make good use of it. So I cannot find the unmarked trail though. Where is the unnamed trail? The one in gray. Where is that?
I don't know.
That's what I said.
Maybe a relic from an earlier draft that did not make its way out of the table of contents, out of the legend rather.
Okay.
I do recall that there was an unnamed trail at one point, because this is the second kind of iteration. But that goes for anyone on the commission. Like, if anyone wants to mark this up or send email directly, any comments, edits that you see, we'll take them all into consideration. My guess is that MetroCog doesn't want to string this along too long, so it would be nice to get this done sooner.
Okay.
Kelly, one question I do have, excuse me, I didn't go through this map at all since came just before the meeting. The St. James property in the middle of the forest, is that shown at all or no? Is it identified?
No.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the unnamed trail. I just found it.
Oh, there it is. Yep.
The unnamed trail goes to a circular contour line up by Black Brook at the north end of the map,
Yeah, there you
in
go.
between G7 and G9.
Yep, and that is the St. James property. Which, Kelly, we got to find out about that because it's owned by the church, obviously, but it's surrounded by town of Stratford property.
Right.
And I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's odd. It's weird.
I have not reached out to them yet, honestly. It has not been at the top of my radar, but I'm writing that down as a note, as a reminder.
Yeah, we gotta come up with something. I just think it's got to be addressed, right? It's just,
Yeah.
Well, find out if
I'm-
do they have a legal right of way to the property?
I will tell you, I have no idea.
When I talked to them and they were out there, but this is many years ago, they said they had a right of way and they had actually contacted the town and the town moved. There was a Jersey barrier that was in the way of their cars being able to, or their four-wheel drive vehicles being able to scramble into that location because they had cars parked down there. If you go into that, it is actually possible if you've got a good enough vehicle to go in at the trailhead near G8 and drive down to that little trail.
So I have the town GIS up, so there is a paper road you can see off of Beaver Dam Road that goes all the way up to Shelton property, and that is kind of that's that green trail that you can kind of see on it. But then this is town of Stratford property here, and then this is St. James, so it is landlocked.
Right.
But like you said, maybe they do have some legal access on one of these parcels to get through it.
And how big is our parcel? Can you tell from there, from the GIS?
Yeah, let me just the acreage. It looks like it's 2.99 acres, so it's pretty small. A lot of feedback on your end.
Mute.
All right.
Thank you. I didn't realize it was that large of a problem, by the way. Okay.
Just a reminder, not speaking, please mute yourself. You're getting a lot of feedback. Bob Ford, if you're not talking, please mute your microphone.
You can mute. I think Ed is, there you go. It's you. There you go. Excellent. All right. Thank you.
Anyways, so that's that. And then to address what's on the map, alongside with Bob Ford's comment on or whoever, I think it was Bob Ford, of putting the forest boundaries on this, we will have, when we put the forest boundary on it, we'll also like exclude any private properties located internally there, and kind of make a note that they technically can't go on that property because it's not part of Roosevelt. But on the flip side, I will look into acquiring that.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns on that?
Hey, Bob, this is Bill. I have a question for Bob Ford. Bob, do you know offhand how much Athletic Brewing donated?
Aileen or Kelly, if you're the super user, you can mute everybody at this point.
All right, I muted Ed because he was causing a ruckus.
Bob, did you hear the question from Bill O'Brien?
No, did not. Too much background noise.
Yeah, he asked you what was the amount of money Athletic Brewing donated. I thought it was 5,000, but I'll
Yeah,
let you.
I think it's 5,000 as well. It was a year ago at Christmas time. I stopped into town hall and saw Timniak and asked him about it, and he said we had gotten it, but you know, at that point we didn't know what was going to happen with it. And we had chit-chatted a bit about doing about there being a project to do the mapping within the forest, but I didn't know what the funding was. I just, you know, at some point I need to get back to the guy at Athletic Brewing and let him know that things have happened, and we appreciate his donation, and here's what kind of thing it was used for, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I agree with Bob. We have to definitely recognize them in some way.
Yeah.
No, and I agree. We could, Bob, I think right now, let's just once we get this map going, we can kind of parlay it into everything and let the mayor know what Athletic Brewing has done for us, and maybe have the town council and the mayor recognize Athletic Brewing at a town council event. That would be great.
Yeah, sounds good.
Brady. Any other comment, Kel? Anything else on your front to talk
No, I
about?
have nothing else. No, just this map.
Anything else under, if you can show the agenda back up for me, I just want to make sure we. Anything else under old business?
Hey,
I'll
Bob,
let
this is
everybody.
Bill.
Yeah, go ahead, Bill. Gotcha.
I'm not sure if everyone knows, but welcome aboard Ed Bitsko as a regular member, confirmed at the December council meeting.
Thank you. It was on my notes. I'm smirking. Aileen can't see me. I got my camera off. Sorry. I'm smirking, Aileen. Yes, I was. I'm glad that happened. I wasn't sure. So thank you, Bill, for informing us. And Ed, congratulations on becoming a full member of the Roosevelt Forest Commission, taking the spot of Elaine Watson, who moved out of town. So thank you.
Now, Aileen, does that mean we have an opening for an alternate?
Yes, that is correct.
So if anybody has somebody that they think would be good as an alternate, please just have them get a hold of me. I know it's typical now to get a resume, so they're going to have a resume, and the town does have a procedure now when they put someone on a commission. And Bill, what I would do is submit it to you to go, with you and the mayor for the appointment. I believe it's a mayor appointment, though, the Roosevelt Forest Commission, right?
Yes, it is, but the council has to approve it because of the fact that the commission gets some money.
Ah. Okay. Sort of like a Senate confirmation.
Yeah, that's a good description.
Thank you. I wanted to get a smirk out of at least one of the two. I was Kelly or Aileen. I got on both. Thank you. What else do we have? I think that's it.
Motion.
Go ahead. What? Go
We
ahead.
just need a motion to adjourn. Bill O'Brien.
I'm sorry. The motion for what?
A motion to adjourn.
Motion
Bill
to
O'Brien.
adjourn.
Oh, I know that. No. Before we adjourn, though, I know that. But hold on. I just want to listen. I really want to thank everybody for their hard work in 2020. Aileen, especially with everything you've done. Kelly, you've done yeoman's work. Thank you so much for doing. Hey, listen, we got rid of the beaver deceiver. We got rid of the cable. No, we've done a lot of great things in the forest. And I really want to make a shout out. Listen, this commission's done a great job. I mean, we're in COVID. I mean, no one could figure out how to do commissions during the pandemic. And even though we weren't meeting, a lot of things got done. And I think that's important to recognize Public Works for all their efforts. And Kelly, you spearheaded a lot of the work, but I'd like to thank each commission member as well. And I'd be very it's very important for me to recognize Lou Loban, who actually has done a lot of work in the forest, just 5 days a week, especially when it was when the weather was very, very good, doing stuff. So I know, Aileen, if you could put in our minutes that I know I can speak for just about every commissioner here, that we recognize what Lou has done for the forest as well. So thank him for his stewardship. But I want to leave it open before we make that motion to adjourn and get Aileen out of here and everybody else. Does anybody else have any comments?
Happy holidays, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays. With that, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Bill O'Brien.
I heard a second.
Second. By Alan
All in
Mullen.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Be safe, be well. See you all in 2021.